So pleasure to meet you. So in next 55 minutes, we'll go through the presentation and live demo. And today's subject of the webinar is how to protect endpoints in the era of data threats. Of course, the webinar is concentrating and showing the value, how our software KODO can answer these questions. So in the meantime, I will focus first on the presentation part, then we'll go through the live demo. So Paweł, if you will have any question during the presentation, do not hesitate to ask. So
okay.
My name is Paweł Mączka. I'm a Storware CTO, responsible for all of the technology in a Storware. As you know, Storware today is a data protection vendor that is concentrating on the two major projects called KODO and called vProtect. So we are specializing in the endpoint protection and in the open hypervisors backups. So today we will, of course, because of the name of the webinar, concentrate on the first one, so KODO. So what we first need to know is that today the most valuable asset for all of the organization worldwide is the data. So we need to get more attention and attraction how to secure and how to build the security shield between any of the threats that we can have from the outside on the inside. So the key is today to find in the tool and the set of the tools which help us to answer these questions. And what is more, what we've seen from the last couple of years is the huge movement and decentralization of the corporate data. So more and more data is right now moving outside the company because of the trends such as mobility. So because of the users right now are much more focused to have the access on their mobile devices, we see the trend that more than 50% of the data today is storing outside the data center. So this is again quite a challenge for the IT departments, for the organization to handle and to provide the secure access for these particular devices. And here we see the need to provide the unified platform for all of the mobile devices, for all of the mobile users. So we introduced 3 years ago the platform called KODO, which in a unique way connects few major pillars of the functionality, such as backup, file sharing, synchronization, protection, and compliance in one product. So it's important to know the key aspects and the differentiator when the KODO will suit today demands of our organization. Doesn't matter if we are small, medium, or the large company. What is more, the key is to provide a secure layer of our data, so secure access. In the end, what we'll get much more productivity on all of the mobile workforce that they will use in our software. But I will go through all of the technical aspects and I will explain how we achieve the productivity based on the set of the features that we provide in our solutions. So first of all, this is where we actually started our journey, is to say, okay, do we feel comfortable to have and using and sharing our data with the public clouds, public services, such as iCloud, Google Drive, OneDrive, or any other WeTransfer. So with the many other public Dropbox, with many other, let's say, public offering that actually customers can get for free without any commitment. So this is the first question, as we need to answer as the IT and the business. Do we feel comfortable with this knowledge that every mobile user can use every application that is available on the market? So this is the first question. The next question, do we feel that this data is actually properly secured? For the IT and for the organizations, because the mobile workforce and users, they feel quite comfortable to share all of the data. It doesn't matter if you'll be confident or not. We don't have any regulation, any policies provided today for this kind of the users. So our goal is to build, so we can say, okay, so if we know that there is a huge threat of even data breach or any other, let's say, data loss possibility of loss of the out of control of the process of exchanging the data in the public services, what if we close the possibility to use them and build our own private cloud on-premise installation with all of the controlling path, all of the data protection aspects, and what is more, so building the secure ecosystem which will comply to even our GDPR that will meet in 2018 in May. So the goal is that KODO can be installed on-premise installation, but it also can use it as a SaaS offering. But we're giving our customers and business partner a choice. So after that, when we close and build the on-prem installation, we see that we have a few differentiators that leverage our customers to use the software. And the most important part is the data protection. So because our roots were always touching the backup and restoration projects, so we know that our major aspects is to properly protect the endpoints, such as laptops, smartphones, etc. So we do today covering the 5 major platforms. It's a Windows and OS X, and on the mobile platforms, Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. So we have 5 different platforms that we're covering from the data and that we provide in the backup capabilities. What is more, that the backup will be kind of the crucial part in case of any ransomware attack. So we will give the possibility to come back exactly the few seconds before the attack was occurred. I will explain it. I will explain this feature later. So what we need to emphasize in the data protection area is that the KODO is preparing to handle many of the workloads, many of the users simultaneously. So our software can handle even 25,000 users inside one installation. What is more, what is important for every data protection software is that we have a quite easy access to all of the change files, all of the history files that the user was working on. And during the live demo, I will explain how to easily reach from the administrative point of view as an IT, and also simulating the let's say today's users work. Continuous data protection. This is one of the key points, that we understand that the mobile users are working all the time. They do not sitting on the office, always connecting via the Ethernet cable with the access to the internal resources. We know that the mobile users are moving all the time, are on the edge, so they're in mobile. So we need to find a way how to grab the latest changes and how to protect the data after a few seconds that this data will be changed on our, let's say, laptop in this scenario. So the continuous data protection means that we capture all of the changes simultaneously on many users, right after the users will change the file that is connected to the backup policy. Of course, we cannot imagine the proper data protection without the bandwidth savings and without the methodology of shrinking data before we will send it to our server. So we introduced the duplication and compression methodology. So every data that will be captured will be global deduplicated, compared, and we will send only the unique chunks and the blocks to the server in case of new file. Also, what we see is, especially on the laptop, of course, on the desktop and laptops, we still some of the customers using the native archives, so they're using the archives for the Lotus or the Outlook. So we have the possibility to grab the archive data and also protect it based on the scheduled actions. So we have a CDP, continuous data protection, for every files, but the email protection is based by the schedule. Roam aware functions, we mean that we are aware, shall we back up using the Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, or we would like to back up our phone only when we'll be connected to the charger and will be in the Wi-Fi connectivity. So we learned our agents to be aware what's going on and how let's say so application is aware of what's going on around the device. Okay. So we need to, if we will go further, we need to understand that today everybody is talking about it, so I will not go into the deep analysis, but we know exactly that ransomware is coming around since the last few years, and we have a new attacks that they have an incredible impact of the data of our production, of our users. So we need to be aware, in case of the attacks, we should have the option to come back to the data before the attack. And the KODO, it can be the brilliant answer how to not only avoid the ransomware, because this is not the job for the KODO to prevent the malware attack, but our job is to provide the end users possibility to come back to the business data before the attack was occurred. So many of the reports, Gartner's, ESG, so the company analysis company, they're explaining that the proper data protection and the backup should be included against today malware features such as ransomware. So we know that we have protecting our endpoints, but we're going further and looking for the new kind of the features that we can use in our system. So okay, so we have a bunch of the data that we store in our solutions. So we decided, let's do something more. Let's enable users to do not only store the data, protect the data from the devices, but enable these users to have a file sync and sharing capabilities, to have a possibility to exchange the data internally and externally. So we do providing options to, first of all, to have the possibility to encrypt the data. So for us, the security is a crucial part for the whole system. But we do also have some kind of the mobile device management capabilities, such as device geolocalization and remote wipeout in case of device was stolen. So these capabilities we of course reserve for part of the agents that we do supporting. But in the end, we given all of this effort to have a secure ecosystem for not only data protection, but from the exchange of the data, to providing in the end control for the IT and for the business, who with who exchange it, how the data was exposed in case of any data breach. And here the audit logs can be a brilliant functionality against the control and the possibility to, let's say, to be compliance against the internal rules that we have in company. So if we come into the compliance stuff, if we come into the how to control the KODO on the mobile devices, the crucial part is to not only provide the secure data layer for the backup, secure exchange the data, so build the unified data flow between the users, but we need to understand that on the mobile devices we need something which will help us to have a fully provision and control of our mobile fleet. So here we see from one side the integration so we do introducing the KODO EMM. So this is the OEM from the FAMOC fancy phone, and we see that with their offering to providing the KODO EMM and the KODO can fulfill all of the requirements from the mobile device management perspective. So all of the control of the data, create a policy based of the users, not only on data path, but also we do care about the central deployment, remote control, application layers controlling. So we introduced the KODO EMM as a crucial key to fulfill and to have the unified control for all of the mobile devices from the EMM perspective, so enterprise endpoint mobility, and from the secure access, which will control via KODO. Here we cannot forget about our second alliance. So we do introduce the integration and cooperation with Samsung Knox. And for your eyes and information, it's important. We are only today backup vendor, who can introduce the data protection for the Samsung Knox workspace containers. So it means that if we really do care about the mobile data protection, we introduce and integrate with existing MDM software such as Mobile Iron, AirWatch, MAS 360, Knox Premium, Knox Workspace, and we have a capability to take the advantage of using KODO in the secure space to give the backup capability and restore in case again of the phone, if the phone was destroyed, lost, or was stolen from the third party people. So we need to today emphasize and understand that we can leverage the best from the existing Knox offering, from the existing MDM offering, presenting our container and our backup capabilities. Again, I will say, protecting to the on-prem installation based of the IBM Spectrum Protect system. So we have next year in May the regulation that I think everybody knows. So this is the GDPR. So we need to so the European Union bring and let's say providing the new law that will enforce companies inside the European Union and of course outside if they have some presence in European Union to have much more attention around the data, around the sensitive data, about the personal data. So there are many questions how let's say the endpoint data protection can help us to providing and the answer some GDPR policies. So first of all, what is really important from us as a vendor is to be open and compliant with the third-party softwares. So that's why we have our own open API to easily integrate with the other softwares inside our customers' ecosystem to provide the unique functionality, such as, of course, the backup, because the backup will be one of the most important part. So we can prepare the dedicated policy for the data that will be assigned as a personal data. We can also provide, because of the secure enterprise file sync and sharing, the possibility to do not expose our internal data outside. So we can build the policy to only exchange the data with the encryption capabilities secured by the password. And the last option that we provided to our users is the option to have the data classification. So you will see that we can grab the data that it stays in our internal container, and we can tag this data to achieve this information for the third-party softwares. So in case of the audit, we can easily show via the REST API options, so we can present the protected data that is assigned to be classified as a personal one. So because the GDPR is saying that we should secure, so we should build the projects, and we should build the projects securely by design. So it's important, this is what I said on the first two slides, because most of the data right now is actually decentralized and stays on the endpoint devices. We need to be aware that there is a possibility that the personal data is also there. So we need to keep attention that we should carefully, we should provide a system which will help us to control, to protect the data, and we should have a system which will minimize the exposure and the data breaches in case of any attack. Okay, so I think we're finishing the presentation part. I'll go to the live demo. I think it's a good part to have. If you will have any question, just ask me before I will go to the live demo. So if anybody has some question, please feel free. If not, we'll go to the next step. Okay. Nobody wants to share, so I will share my screen. Just give me a second. Just let me know if you see my right now the login screen to KODO.
Yes.
Okay. So right now, let's do a scenario that right now I'm the IT department and would like to create the policy to protect, let's say, one of the departments. So I will log in as administrator. So I should have a credential here. So first, what I see after I log in to the KODO is the bunch of the information. We call it, of course, dashboard, so that we should be aware of. The most important part is, okay, so how many devices we have overall in our organization, and how many of these devices is protected. 23% is not the best option. I would like to hit to the 75. So in this scenario, we can click all of the unprotected and says, hey, what's going on? So we can see that we have a bunch of the platforms, the data when the last backup was occurred. Of course, it's my live demo, so most of these laptops and smartphones use it during let's say the testing purposes. So do not use it on the internal, let's say, daily basis. But we have also information how many devices are protected today. And we see that in our demo we have 25 mobile devices, 27 desktops, and we have two kinds of the repositories that we can import and create users. One of them is, of course, the LDAP users. So we have a connectivity to the LDAP. So if we will assign the users to the specific group, such as KODO group, we can specify which group it can be. After that, we can import, so we don't need to care about all of the password policies, so everything will go through the LDAP credentials. Below, we have a bunch of the statistics, how many files we protected, how many data we stored before the duplication, and how many data we stored after dedupe savings. So we see that today we have a 30% of the savings. We can also see the average of the data protected and the numbers of the data protected on each device that we protected. We see the number of the desktops, mobile. So this is the numbers just for the statistic point of view. So let's go. So like I said, let's create a new policy. So I click the policies, and here we can create as many policies as we would like, and every policy, so let's take, so I will create the webinar policy, and of course we will not go through all of the features, but here would build the options how this policy should be treated to the users that will be attached to this policy later on. So first of all, we have a question. Is this policy will be the default? So if there will be any of the new users that will be important to the system, they will be assigned automatically to this policy. I don't want to do it today, but second option is quite important because this is the decision of the IT department. Would you like to give the option to the end users to create their own policy? So if the answer is yes, we should have this checkbox on. In most cases, we would like to control what the backup policy will be on this specific group of the users. So I will not take it. The password settings, mobile settings, I would like to also concentrate on the MyKODO, because the MyKODO will be the internal folder to have with the option to exchanging data between, so it will be our internal container. So here we see that we can allow users that will be assigned to this policy to sharing the folders and sharing the filing. Okay. Email, this is what I said before. Each users, if they're using the archives, such as PSTs of the Microsoft Outlook, they can schedule that every day. I would like to back up so every day from Monday to Friday, I would like to back up on selective day. So so we can run, let's say, every 5 days, every 7 days. We're choosing the hour. In this scenario, I would like to backup daily and 14, so 2 p.m. I can add policy. Let's go to the next steps. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 different platforms that we do supporting. We started from the Windows. We have the OS X, Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. So each of these tabs will has its own configuration. So let's take the Windows, because in most cases it will be used as end users. So first of all, because of we're using the Spectrum Protect, we can have the advantage of using the TSM, the duplication methodology, on the source. So every file will be first dedupe, then sent to our server. We can enable the compression. We can enable some quotes for the users. I will not do this. The KODO temporary space is important part, because it means that before I will send the data to the KODO server, I will create the copy. So in case of internet disruption, loss of the connectivity, I will let's say buffer the data in the KODO temp. So when the connectivity will come back, I will replicate this data to our server. And the include exclude list. So here we creating the policy that you can create the globally. So in this scenario, let's take my documents. I would like to backup everything in my documents. We can take some templates. We can also create and add the new extensions, such as Web1. So it doesn't matter what the extension is. We can create it and add to the our reference template, and we creating the retention. So retention means that we assign the include into, let's say, set of the policies that we can create before we'll start to create a policy in a KODO. So if you are aware of the Spectrum Protect management classes, this is the management classes that the KODO clients are assigned to it. So we can create as many as possible, from the numbers of the days, number of the version. So we are quite flexible in this scenario here. So Windows, I will go to the Android also, and it says, okay, we can create fully BIOT policy, so bring your device. So we can say, we don't want to touch your data, your personal data. We will only protect the container, KODO container, so the KODO application on the Android. Or what our customers also using, it's to protect the contacts. We can have calendars, galleries, and we can specify the number of the extension that we will seek and looking inside the Android file system. Of course, we can also do an Xcode policy. Okay, so let's take the example. So we create a webinar policy. After that, we can copy if we would like to have more this kind of the policies, but we can assign easily the users to this policy. So we can find, let's say, my own. Be like that. Will be easier. And we can assign it to this group. What will happen when I will assign to this group? So all of the users that will be reassigned or assigned to the new one, in 2 minutes interval, they will be notified on the Windows that the backup will be started based of the retention policy.
هي ليه هي ذيك مش ادمنستريشن 3 معناها عاديه، هذيك كما نقولوا هذيك موديول في وسط الادمنستراسيون، فهمتني؟ يلزمك تقرا توها جايين الكورسيس الكول ليك باش تقرا الادمين ولا ادمين دو. ليه كورسيس كله لهنا تو باش تقرا الكل باش نقراو نعاودوا نقراو الكل ليك معناها. انا حتى اللي قريته قديم برشا معناها فيرسيون قديمه فهمت. دونك تقراو تو ادمين 2 ادمين 3 الباور في ام.
I think you have an internal
مقرر في الاخر باش يعملها الان باش يعمل 3 ولا 4 جور حيصيروا في الان.
James, I think you have an internal discussion right now.
attends بعث لك
Oh, I need to mute everyone because I think we started the internal discussion. So, you just, for your information, we didn't understand, but we know that you're talking about the policy assigned to the coder group. So I'm glad that we have an internal discussion. So I mute everybody. If anybody would like.
Hi everybody. Sorry for the late.
No. I thought you started the question, but then I little bit lost because of your language. So no worries. No worries. It was good.
I speak Arabic, so okay. you can't understand me.
But thank you. It was a good interruption. So no worries.
Okay, sorry for interrupt. I will follow the training now. Okay.
Okay, great.
Bye.
So what we got is to build the policies, and then you see that every users it's connected to the policy. I will find my own. So I will find right now the Paweł Mączka. You can see that Paweł Mączka right now is import from the LDAP. Is using the global policy, and the Paweł Mączka right now is using 8 devices. So a little bit crazy, no worries. I don't have so much devices. Some of them is the demo lab, and of course one of them is my wife. But what I would like to show you, we have a central administration point for all of the kind of the devices that we right now supporting. So it's quite confident to go inside and see that, okay, we have one of our demo is 2016 servers. I install on a VMware that we will see in a second. We can see the localization of this endpoint, but we can also see what the data is protected today on this specific user. So we have the option, and this option is again set up to the policy that can I as administrator restore the data. So if I have a policy here global, so you can see administrator cannot restore the user's data. So it can be the part of the policy. I can change it. And in this scenario, I would like to, I will have the option to centralize, restore the data on behalf of the user's, let's say, a request. But what is important for us is to build the system that we as an IT given the tool to protect, and we just set and forget. So what I mean by that? I mean that we should have a quite not disruptive system that should be easily protect the data without any notification to the end users. So I will go to right now to my Windows. Just let me know, because I changed the screen to the remote connectivity. Just let me know that you see the screen.
Yes.
Okay. So right now I built the policy. I send this policy to the users, and right now I will simulate what the user is doing. So the user is okay. So there is something like Migrator here. So I will come back in a second, but I can have my files, so I can start to work on them. So I can see the webinar. Right now in Poland we have 16, 17. I said save the file. doing change to save the file, again, delete content. So I'm simulating working on the, right now on TXT, but it can be the Word file, Excel file, any file that we protecting via the policy. So the key point is how to give our customer users easy of use system to restore themselves without contacting IT. And the answer is give them the right click possibility to coming back to the previous versions. Give them the option to overwrite or to create a copy. If we'll create a copy, we can come back and have a specific version of it. So what if we don't have a file? So we saying, dear user, just right click on the folder and you will open the application. And in this application, you will see all of your endpoints that you are protecting. So the funny part is that we do not only care about our endpoint team, but we care about the other devices. So we can use a KODO as quite a good data migrator between different endpoints. So if you can see, I can easily not only reach the other laptops, such as even the macOS file system. So desktop, vProtect, one of the presentations, 10 megabytes. But I can also reach the data here on my phones. And this is a quite a nice feature that, okay, if we are get rid of the iCloud, Google Drive, etc., and we closing everything inside the company, we as a users would like to have this capability to restore it. Of course, we have the options to search for the files for the files inside. So we can grab one file. We can choose the original, different location. Let's take it on C. I took the small part of the file. Yeah, we got it. So the key is the simplicity for the end users. And if you are right now familiar with the IBM Spectrum Protect, if you are familiar how the BA client is working, how the centralized administration is working, you will feel the difference. But I would like to let's say emphasize that, because many of the partners, customers asking, why are you using IBM? And our decision was the scalability, the guarantee of that if we will send the data to the Spectrum Protect, we're on the safe zone. So so the scalability, open API, and the options to fully integrate and hidden Spectrum Protect so we're using only as a backend engine. So on the daily administrative purposes or the daily, let's say, task, you will not see at all that inside is the IBM. Okay, so we got the data protected. Let's go. Okay, question.
Yes, I want to have idea about the the benefit of IBM Spectrum Protect against EMC solution like Networker and Backup Exec, all other backup softwares.
Okay, go on. Is a question, or would like to give the?
It's a question, and okay. I would like to have the because in my company we have the two portfolio, IBM portfolio, and we are new in this in these products. and EMC portfolio like networker. So I want to have the benefits between them, the difference between them.
So the first major thing is that I will concentrate not on the advantage of the itself IBM Spectrum Protect, but I will concentrate on the advantage on the endpoint. Okay.
Okay.
So first, what we see, we are significantly easier to deploy, manage, and so this is the first idea. Time to provisioning all of the endpoints from the first installation to the maintenance. So this is the first part. The next part is that if we will use the native container pool, so the native deduplication pool of the IBM Spectrum Protect, we gain a significant boost performance from the global deduplication perspective. And as I said, we can today store to 25,000 clients simultaneously working per one TSM instance. So we have a huge scalability from the number of the simultaneous users that we can protect in one installation. Next thing is the fast of the access to the data. So we tested the convol. We've seen the convol in action. We've seen the semantic DLO. We've seen the typical file clients on the networker and the other softwares. And we do believe in, and we know it, but you need to test it, that you will see the you will see the difference how the application is treated and how fast the access you will get, and how we achieve this performance, because we have the native API. So all of the communication is coming to the from our client via the API to the Spectrum Protect. So what our customers see after they validated and tested that, whoa, it's really working and it's really fast to access the data, and simplicity how to use it. And the last part, because it's a huge topic and I don't want to disrupt all of the presentation, will be the 4 segments that we today concentrate in. This is when I started the presentation. So we have a backup functionality, but we do also talking about the enterprise file sync and sharing, integration with the MDM, and RESTful API to integrate it with the third-party softwares to build one unified ecosystem. So if you will start to comparing the typical backup agent for the other softwares, you will find that the KODO is much more than just the endpoint backup today.
Okay, thank you.
So, and right now, because we will running out of time, I will try to show you my KODO features. So we know that we have a protected data. So, but we do also providing our customers, users, the possibility to create their own folder for enterprise file sync and sharing capabilities. So like you have OneDrive, Google Drive, so you can see right now here my KODO, and I will do the 2 things. I will go inside and create webinar file, save it, and I will create the link, create the fast link. So I will take as an end user this link with this password. I will copy it, and I will also close it, and I will tag this this data. I told you on the presentation that we today providing option to data classification, so we can classify the data. shell data webinar. So I'm, as administrator, allowed my users to create their own tags. I will save it. Also, I will take this folder. So I create a link, create a tag, and I will take the folder and share this folder with the other users in the company. So I will grab, let's say, Bartosz sitting in front of me. So we should. So I'm taking the decision. Okay, with who I can share the data, and the KODO will show me that only the users from the Active Directory that is assigned to KODO will be visible in this feature, in this list. So I will take Patrick, I will take Bartosz, I will save it. So right now, what the Bartosz will see, he will see in their KODO the folder PSMB that I've created and shared with them. What the other user will see, that I created the link. So I will come back. I will come back as an administrator right now. So what I see as an administrator, that users are doing lots of stuff around in the data that is protected inside our containers. So we can see that Paweł Mączka shared the folder with Patrick Bobak, Bredy, Łukasz Błocki. We can see also that Paweł Mączka created the link. And here, this is what I see. I explaining that if you will not give your end user the proper enterprise file sync and sharing software on their mobile devices, for their laptops, smartphones, they will smart to use in their own, such as Dropbox, etc. I'm not saying that the Dropbox is bad, but I'm saying that if these users will start to using and accessing the corporate data and start to using the external transfer applications, we will lose in the control and will not have any clue what's going on inside and how users can use and reach this data, and how they can do sometimes without any, let's say, knowledge, the data breach. So what I mean by saying on-premise ecosystem based of the KODO, I mean that we got the data covered, so we have a backup. We got the control, so as an administrator, we know what's going on. I'm saying that as an administrator, I can start to classify the data based of the files, but in the future roadmap, we're planning to have the full text classification, and we have the gateway with our API to automate all of the processes that you've seen right now on the demo via the REST API.